welcome to Prime Property, your weekly real estate reckoner. I'm Nayantara Rai and this is what we have on the show today. Despair for over 20,000 home buyers in Noida, the Supreme Court dismisses a petition challenging the National Green Tribunal's 2013 order of banning completion certificates for projects falling within a 10-kilometer radius of the Okla Bird Sanctuary. While in Mumbai, after losing a battle in the Supreme Court, over 100 residents of the infamous Campacola Society face eviction and demolition of their homes. Angry residents ask why the builder is not even being interrogated. And on Property Doctor this weekend, we get Prop Tiger to answer viewer queries. A tale of two cities, but with the consumer holding the short end of the stick in both cases. The Supreme Court on June 11th refused to entertain a plea of JP Infratech to direct the Noida Authority to start giving completion certificates to its projects located within a 10-kilometer radius of the Okla Bird Sanctuary. And over in Mumbai, over 100 residents of the Campacola Society are staring at impending eviction and demolition of their apartments. Let's first tell you about the Noida case. More than 20,000 home buyers left in a lurch. There are now doubts over the future of another 70,000 flats under construction in Noida in the National Capital Region. Projects of as many as 53 builders hanging in balance. This after the Supreme Court dismissed one developer, JP Infratech's appeal against an order of the National Green Tribunal, red flagging construction in the eco-sensitive zone surrounding the Okla Bird Sanctuary. That same NGT order had also banned the grant of completion certificates. Here's how it all started. The bone of contention was the identification of an eco-sensitive zone surrounding the Okla Bird Sanctuary. The National Green Tribunal had directed the Ministry of Environment and Forest to identify such an area while directing that all construction in a 10-kilometer radius be halted. The NGT had restrained the Noida Authority from granting completion certificates to any of the projects in the zone. The NGT had also deemed all environmental clearances as inoperational until a no-objection certificate is secured from the National Board for Wildlife. Outrightly dismissing JP Infra's petition, the Supreme Court said the stage for appeals has not yet arrived, as the government still has to take a decision on demarcating the boundaries of the eco-sensitive zone around the Okla Bird Sanctuary. JP Infratech's counsel Abhishek Manu Singhvi had argued that nearly 4,000 flats are completed and home buyers who have paid for them are awaiting occupation certificates, in the absence of which buyers would suffer financially and so would their children's education. The Apex Court reasoned that if it allowed people to reside in these projects now, it could later become a serious problem to deal with if any non-compliance of environmental problems were to surface in future. The Supreme Court also ruled that if any action needed to be taken, it would only be after the Ministry of Environment and Forest sought the views of Uttar Pradesh, Delhi and Haryana governments on the issue and then firmed up its own decision. But buyers of the 30,000 flats in question obviously cannot guess what the Environment Ministry will decide. They are scared of losing their dream home and life savings. I reached out to CREDAI for answers.
No, as per the estimates available with CREDAI NCR, we believe that there are close to 20,000 apartments which are ready for possession and for which the completion certificate is not being issued because of the order of NGT.
So, Mr. Modi, are all these 20,000 homes sold and fully paid for or almost paid for?
I would assume that a bulk of it would be sold where large part of payments have been made. There would be, maybe 20-25% inventory which is still to be sold, but the bulk of the projects would be sold. That's why the constructions have reached near completion as well.
Mr. Modi, what happens next? What is the builder community planning as the next course of action?
We are very hopeful at CREDAI that as the directive of Honorable Supreme Court, Ministry of Environment and Forest is going to take up the matter in an expeditious fashion. We would be requesting with the concerned Minister, Mr. Prakash Javadekar, to take up the issue on an expeditious matter and get all the stakeholders across the table to finalize the limit of eco-sensitive zone. As you are aware, UP government has already recommended 100 meters from Okhla Bird Sanctuary as its line of eco-sensitive zone, on which MOEF has raised certain queries which are currently being addressed by the concerned officials of UP government.
But Mr. Modi, I want you to help me understand this. If the National Green Tribunal was never on board, how is it that builders were marketing and selling all these flats in the first place? How is it that banks were giving home loans?
Sure. See, all these projects have all legitimate approvals. These projects have been approved by Noida Authority. Subsequently, they have been cleared by SEIAA, which is State Environmental Impact Assessment Authority, which is the paramount authority in the state to provide approvals in the cases related to MOEF. Every project which is on that list has already obtained consent of MOEF, then only constructions have started. So to pass on an order which has a retrospective effect, especially on a project where all the investments have taken place and they are nearing completion, definitely creates a lot of mental and financial hardships for all stakeholders in those particular projects. This particular judgment of NGT or order came in August of 2013. Prior to that, there was no such a restriction on Noida Authority, and approvals were already given by state MOEF committees and authority. So there's nothing wrong with the projects. They have all the approvals in place.
Okay, so your point is that the builders never knew about this, that the NGT only came out with this order in 2013 and is now retrospectively applying it. But, Mr. Modi, would you agree with the view that in the last few years, the image of the Noida property market has taken a big hit, and for no fault of consumers? First, there was the entire controversy raised by farmers over land acquisition that had reached all the way to the Supreme Court. Then recently, you have the Super Tech case, where the Allahabad High Court has ordered demolition of 2 towers is found illegal. Now, the Supreme Court has given a stay order. How are consumers supposed to feel safe investing in Noida?
You know, if we will keep on having issues like the current judgment of NGT, which forces a creation of artificial scarcity, which would ultimately only lead to lack of supply and higher prices for whatever is existing in the market. The matter of NGT order is only being seen in the light of developments happening in Noida, but the Okhla Bird Sanctuary also touches Delhi and Haryana. The pertinent question here is that why there is no issue of 10 kilometers of development in the Delhi area from Okhla Bird Sanctuary. If you look at the 10 kilometers, it would probably encompass entire of Sarita Vihar, Jasola District Center, Jasola Vihar, New Friends Colony, Maharani Bagh, Okhla. So, but for some reason, the focus is only on what is affecting Noida. This has to be seen in light of current urban situation and the practicality. Even when the central government has amended that 10 kilometers is not a straight line, every state can define its own limit from site to site basis, not even a statewide single direction, but site to site. And it's important for me to reiterate over here that this limit is also only regulatory in nature and not prohibitory in nature. So somehow this matter is actually been blown out of proportion. We don't see this becoming a serious issue. It's an issue of overlapping jurisdictions, and we are very hopeful that with the current directive of the Supreme Court, MOEF shall be able to resolve it very quickly.
But Mr. Modi, isn't it too simplistic to say buyers should not worry that all of this will work out? I'm sure, you know, these consumers are having sleepless nights given the uncertainty. They have no clue what's going to happen to their investments. Right now, nobody knows what the Environment Ministry is going to decide.
Sure. No, I completely agree with your thought process on this. But if we were to draw certain examples of cases which have happened in past related to eco-sensitive zone, for example, mining. Center has itself allowed mining after 1 kilometer of eco-sensitive zones, and if some media reports have to be seen in current times, where center is even permitting mining within 1 kilometer of the eco-sensitive zone. So when mining can take place in a 1 kilometer or beyond 1 kilometer, why should any kind of urban infrastructure creation should be prohibited?
But I'm sure environmentalists will respond to that by saying 2 wrongs don't make a right.
Well, I'm not saying that the development should take place at the cost of environment at all. At the end of the day, there has to be a fine balance between the environmental concerns and the developmental concerns. Looking at the practicality, yes, it is. You're right that we don't know what MOEF will decide or can decide, and it raises anxiety and concern. And that is exactly the same reason for which we have been imploring for last over 6 months for a clear and a crisp decision in this particular matter. It should be very clearly spelled out if the developer fraternity needs to take approval from which all agencies. It is not fair that after approvals have been granted and the projects have been investments have taken place in the projects, whether that investment is coming from the home buyers or banks or from developers' own equity, then retrospective orders should not be passed, which affects so much of third-party interest.
And have buyers started approaching builders seeking compensation? Are they demanding that builders switch their investments into another project?
No, we don't see any anxiety or panic in the buyer fraternity as of now. And from CREDI's side, we want to assure any such family which has invested in a project that there is no need and there is no for them to be anxious and to be concerned. We are very hopeful that this matter will get resolved positively very soon.
Needless to say, we at Prime Property will keep a close watch out on what the Environment Ministry will finally decide.